Good morning, everyone. My name is Stephen Liu. I'm the Business Service Manager here at OIC of South Florida. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for our OIC of South Florida Virtual Industry Advisory Board Business Connection and Exchange. The purpose of this event is to provide resources for small to mid-sized businesses. Our panelists are here today to share the best practices on how to thrive during the current state of our economy. Following a message from our visionary president CEO, Mr. Newton Sanin, we will have Mr. Tim Lambert from Land Infotech, Mr. Clay Thomas from Advanced Roofing, and Mr. Tim Moore of Teleperformance speaking on the topic of revamping your business methods. We will also be having Mr. Sandy Michael McDonald from the Office of Economic and Small Business Development of Broward County, speaking on financial resources that are currently available to small to mid-sized businesses. Lastly, our directors, Mr. Sherrod Walker and Mr. Anthony Robinson, will bring a closing remarks. We thank you for attending. If you have any questions during one of our presenters, please make sure to use the Q&A feature below, and we will make sure to have your questions heard. Once again, your mics will be muted, so if you have any questions, please answer them in the Q&A feature below. Thank you once again. Mr. Sanin.
Thank you, Stephen, and we say good morning to everybody. Stephen said, my name is Newton Sanin, the President and CEO of OIC of South Florida. We're a community-based workforce development organization. And so we have a great interest in making sure that businesses are thriving, but also to make sure that they have a prepared workforce. But before I get any further, I just want to make sure to wish everybody well during this pandemic. These are very, very challenging times with multiple implications throughout our economy and our country. And we certainly wish everybody good health and great spirits throughout this difficult time. The purpose for us is to always have been to engage the business community. It is our intent to create a viable and thriving workforce. But in order to do that, we try to be very intentional about engaging with the business community. One, to be an extension of your human resources department, making sure you have a trained and qualified workforce. So our goal is to recruit, help you train, develop, and maintain a solid workforce, because we all know our talent is our biggest assets for any of our businesses. I would really, really have folks to think beyond traditional measures, because I think many things are going to change about the workforce. It is our intent to make sure that we maintain a viable partner for you, to make sure you have the folks to be able to do a good job and to elevate your businesses. So we thank you for your time and attention today. We wish and hope you and your family all the best, and know that you have a resource you can count on in OIC of South Florida for all your workforce needs. Thank you. God bless to each and every one of you, and we look forward to continued partnership with every one of you. Take care.
Thank you, Mr. Sanin. Our next presenter is going to be Mr. Tim Lambert from Land Infotech. Good morning, Mr. Lambert.
Morning, Stefan.
Good. Thank you. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your company?
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you. Oh, first of all, thank you to OIC and yourself for allowing this webinar. You know, it's a difficult time right now for everybody, and it's great that we can share at least this way together. My name is Tim Lambert, as he said. I'm the Vice President of Land Infotech. Been around since 2009. We've got just over 25 staff people, really concentrated in South Florida. I would describe us as the firefighters and police officers of technology, right? So from a firefighter perspective, we actually will fix, PCs, servers, firewalls, you name it, something breaks 24/7. We're out there to fix it at your office, and, maybe not at your home, not right now, but and then we're the police officers as well. Unfortunately, the last 10, 15 years, we've had to get more and more into protecting our clients from the bad hackers. So the crazy thing is we've had to transition a little bit, just like a lot of you may have to over time, where we've, we're not an auto manufacturer. We can't make ventilators, masks, and what have you, but we can use our skill sets and our gifts. And what we've been doing is teaching schools, cities, nonprofits for really pro bono services on how to use teams to collaborate and sustain their organizations. Myself, I've been in the technology world for over 20 years. I've owned different businesses here and there, my small businesses as well. I'm an advanced worker. I'm actually talking to you out of Minnesota. I fly back between Minnesota and Florida every week. So I've been remote working for quite a long time. I play vice president of Land Infotech during the week, and then on the weekends I play firefighter. So, so that's me.
Thank you. Seeing that you work for a tech company, what are you seeing as the best approach to running our business from home?
So I would break it down into 3 categories: technology, security, communications, and productivity for tips I would give everybody. To start with, I'd say technology, which is really your home PC. It might be your Mac or your Windows machine. But on that, it's kind of crazy lately because nobody ever wanted to work from home before, and now everybody, apparently they're doing studies where 98% of people are saying, yeah, I'll work from home. But there's goods and bads of everything. What we hear a lot of is people complaining, hey, my PC is slow, or what have you. The thing is there's things you can do, simple things you can do, and I always tell my family, number 1, reboot. Number 2, make sure it's plugged in, of course. And then also you can call your internet provider to see if you can increase the speed. The thing I have to do, I have literally, and I'm not joking, I have four 17-year-old kids in my household. All of them are gaming. One is my son and the other 3 are foreign exchange students, but they game and what have you. So they soak the bandwidth, meaning that they're using it to where I can't actually do my work. So it'd be good to sit down with everybody in your family and say, okay, from 1 to 2, I have to have my meetings, and then you can have your school time. And I would also look at upgrading your OS. OS is operating system. If you're not using Windows Professional, I would strongly consider that. I would upgrade your antivirus. Free antivirus is not necessarily that good. I would also download something like Malwarebytes or something of that nature to protect yourself. And then also in Windows, you can actually set it to automatically update your patches, security patches, and what have you. So I'd make sure that that's done. And then, how many of us have bought PCs and you get all this stuff on your PCs, right? You don't know what it is. I don't even know what it is. Uninstall stuff that you don't use. Specifically, uninstall games if your kids are using them. These types of things will actually speed up your processing power and actually put you at less risk for any security breaches of that nature. We also would say that you want at least 8 gigs of RAM in your PC. Some people would say, well, I can't upgrade my RAM. Well, you know what? There's something called YouTube. My sister-in-law has replaced an entire transmission in her truck watching YouTube. So if she can do that, you can upgrade your PC, your PC's memory. And then also making sure that you're backing up. I don't care if that's to the cloud or to a stick locally or whatever, but now we have the responsibility of backing up at our homes. So that is also important.
Excellent. With people working from home and the various platforms that they are utilizing, how can we tell if our business are at risk?
Well, okay, so that's kind of a hard question to answer. Just because I will tell you that it is known that most hackers will perch. What perching means is they'll get into your system and they'll sit there quietly, so you won't even know they're there. And the average is for 6 months. So how do we combat that? Being at home is very difficult. And I'm going to be flat out honest with you. As a firefighter, I would rather fight a fire that's in one location, right? Well, that is true with us managing your network when everybody's in one building or multi-buildings or whatever. Now think of this, we're all dispersed. So now we've got to fight all these different fires all over the place. So how can you help? Well, making sure that you've got a secure remote connection. That means using something like VPN, which is called virtual private network, or just making sure that your transmission is encrypted. So those are responsibilities I think everybody should be looking at, making sure you're connecting to something secure. Multi-factor authentication, that's pretty easy actually. And this goes for your bank accounts and everything else that you use. You should be enabling multi-factor authentication. It's simple. What it means is instead of just putting in a password and saying, okay, I'm in, you want to put a password in, and then that would go and hit your cell phone and say, oh, is this Tim? And I'd say yes, and then it allows me to log into my bank account, right? So you should be using that across the board. Single sign-in is just using one password for everything. There's services that offer that. And then obviously look at your internet, right? How you're connecting. Do not be using your please do not be using your neighbor's internet router, okay, to get internet. Yes, it's free, but you don't know are you okay with going and handing your neighbor your payroll stubs to all your employees? I mean, you got to be thinking of stuff like that. So use your own internet router. Make sure you got a password on that thing. And then browsers, web browsers. I see people using 5 different flavors of web browsers. Why? Pick one. The reason is because the more you use, the more susceptible you are to hacking and what have you. So uninstall everything except for one, and that includes the extensions as well. And then the other big thing is just don't be clicking on any and everything. I will tell you today, we see more COVID emails to people that are false emails that are not good to be clicking on. If you go and click on that stuff, you're going to put yourself in jeopardy. So just be careful what you're clicking on. And then also don't be sending money to somebody that you haven't called first. And I'm including people in here that you know. If somebody sends you an email and says, send me some money, call them first. Do not just send the money however you would normally do that.
Excellent, Mr. Lambert. If anyone here have any questions for Mr. Tim Lambert, please use the Q&A feature below and we will do our best to answer those questions for you right now.
So I was going to talk a little bit about how to communicate. You know, everybody knows what Zoom is today. You know, if you're using those types of applications, you're going to want to make sure that you're putting a password on them, right? I think everybody's seen that in the news. Zoom's a good product. Microsoft Teams is what our company uses internally. The interesting thing about video, though, when I say connect and see, what I mean is turn on your camera. You know, with the fire department, we have many board meetings, and I'll tell you, the older gentlemen, the chiefs and so forth, don't like to use their camera. We haven't seen each other in a week. So using your camera is actually more effective to getting stuff, to seeing each other and talking and getting things done. Chat tools are another huge thing. I gotta tell you, as a small business, medium-sized business, you should be using something that has some kind of chat capability. Microsoft Teams, again, has that, and I will tell you, you can actually have chat installed on your desktop, your laptop. I can have it on my phone, so I can chat with my staff just like I would text. But the difference is I can look at Teams in the future and say, oh, this is how my staff, my HR department or whoever has been communicating back and forth. But it keeps people in line with each other, which is very important today, obviously. And if you're on video, make sure you're, wearing clothes and what have you. We've had a couple incidents where, people have been exposing things that they didn't really necessarily want to. So make sure your camera's on when it's on. Make sure you're aware of that. And then the last thing I would say about staying connected is there's ways, like with Microsoft Teams, you can actually collaborate and work on the same document together at the exact same time. It's those types of feature sets, those types of things you have access to that would make you feel like you're engaged with your staff. And frankly, even you can invite your clients to do the same thing, to work on documents. So keeping that going is a good thing.
Okay. Does Land Infotech provide training for these platforms?
Yeah, we actually, for 501c3s and schools I had mentioned, cities, we did the city of Hollandale, last week. We actually will do that for free to actually train them in a webinar format and actually give them demos and show them, and we'll actually set them up. So.
Excellent. All right, thank you, Mr. Tim Lambert. If anyone needs any additional information, please, you can always email them. His email address is right below his name.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you so much. Any questions, send them my way.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Our next presenter is going to be Mr. Clay Thomas from Advanced Roofing. Good morning, Mr. Thomas.
Good morning. Hi, everyone. I'm Clay Thomas, Talent Manager at Advanced Roofing. Thank you, Stefan and OIC, for allowing me to participate today. I hire new talent for Advance and help train our people to achieve their full potential. It's amazing to see what people can accomplish when they're believed in. I value work and life experience as my main credentials. That's me on the right in the photo. In 1969, working with my dad on the job, who was my #1 teacher. Advanced Roofing was founded in 1983 by Rob Cornarens here in Fort Lauderdale. Advanced has expanded into solar, HVAC, and electrical businesses over the years. We're the state's largest commercial roofing and solar contractor. Proud of my company. In these times internally, they're in a position to offer no interest loans to our employees and grants of up to $2,500 weekly for people impacted by the current COVID-19. Roofing is classified as an essential business, so keeping our existing workforce healthy and safe is job #1. We have over 550 employees throughout 7 Florida offices, including past OIC participants, I'm proud to say. We are complying with exceeding CDC recommendations. We have limited staff. 90% of us or more are working remote right now. No building entry, hand wash stations on the job, face masks, taking temperature checks in the mornings. But I do personally feel for those businesses which are closed now, because I do know paychecks are essential too.
Thank you for that. What are some of the best methods and challenges when it comes to recruiting new talent during these times?
We are currently hiring for multiple positions, but experience is required. Stefan, now offers are often extended virtually without an in-person meeting. But how do you gauge if that employee is connected? If they don't have good communication connection, as Tim mentioned, it may not lead to a permanent work connection, if you follow me. Remember when the handshake was often the determining factor? Well, that's no more. In fact, don't even touch me. With the increased reliance on technology across the board, job descriptions are changing in real time. This means we all need to be more adaptable. I mean, 2 months ago, I thought Zoom was what you did when the light turned yellow. Hey, I'm in charge of the meetings on Zoom. So new unknowns, as Newton said, as Bob Dylan also said, the times they are changing. So all the old boxes are checked. We've checked their education, we've checked an employee's experience, we've checked references. But again, can the employee work remotely? Can they work unsupervised? So being a self-starter and being self-driven is very valued now and in high demand. And as an employer, how do I identify this in someone up front? So there's a lot of new tools coming on board in the marketplace. We're doing personality surveys, a lot of opportunities to be able to look inside and help recognize these traits that may or may not be in a potential employee. A challenge for us also is having multiple offices throughout the state, many of which are under different orders as far as what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. In addition, multiple building departments, multiple clients, all with their own requirements. So being on top of the current information and asking the right questions is key to success right now.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Given the current rules on social distancing, how has the onboarding process changed for your business?
Drastically. Training and onboarding of new employees is currently on hold due to those social distancing requirements. We're hoping that as we go forward, they're going to be relaxed and we're going to find a way to work through it. We are currently designing hands-off training program and an e-learning curriculum. And again, adapting all as we go. And e-learning, let me tell you what is a challenge to me. So my hat's off to all you new teachers out there. And I hope the things I see on Facebook aren't true about the at-home schooling.
Okay. What are some tips on how to stand out to a potential employer during these times?
Well, how do you stand out in this new virtual crowd? How do you demonstrate your skill set virtually? Well, for me, now's the time for refreshing outside the box thinking, get creative. And, there's a certain vulnerability that we have now that we didn't necessarily have before. When I'm online and I'm working from home, I may have my kids walking in. I may have the dog barking. And as Tim mentioned, hopefully I do have my pants on, so we're good with that. As mentioned, also brush up on technology, especially what is current in the marketplace. If you're video chatting, demonstrate at-home professional. Don't show up in your pajamas. Be concerned and inquire about the potential employer's COVID-19 protocols, and then respect and comply with them so that you demonstrate a care and concerning for the way they do business. And probably one of the biggest things for me, and I know you mentioned it, is practice positivity. Take care of number one. If you're not strong, it's hard to care for others. I meditate, exercise, practice forgiveness. Do you have a hobby, art? Find a release to be able to have some outside impacts other than work and home. Because now our family are also our co-workers. However, they don't work for the same company, but hopefully they're also our friends. And the flip side of that is if you're alone and you're dealing with the loneliness and possibly the depression that's associated with these current times. So it's okay to cry every once in a while if you need to. And that being said, I find a positive spirit in these times is an attractive quality.
Excellent. During the pandemic, have you seen a change in the volume of your business? And if so, how have you dealt with that change?
Advanced Roofing's has remained strong, thankfully, throughout the last few months, considering there was a healthy backlog of work in our pipeline, and our employees are healthy and on the job. We have seen a decline in future projects coming online due to limited activity in the marketplace. Also, some smaller firms have had difficulty generating work that didn't have a big backlog, and as a result, keeping employees working can be difficult and challenging. We've had some people show up willing to start over because they need a paycheck, because they have a family at home. The current environment has also resulted in some forms of chaos management, considering we have never quite dealt with this scenario. For us in roofing, we kind of compare it to the days right after the hurricane. What we really don't know is what changes are temporary and which ones are permanent. So again, welcome to the new normal, but this is not normal for me. And again, I want to thank you and OIC for having me today. And I just want to say I've always been very impressed with OIC since I met them. And I met a lady named Miss Thomas at a higher event. Her passion to see OIC participants succeed had inspired me to partner with you. And I just want to say I see the same thing and that same positive energy every day throughout your organization, and I commend you. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clay Thomas. If anyone has any questions for Mr. Thomas, you can, one, answer in the Q&A, or you can also reach out to Mr. Thomas personally. His email address is below his name on the screen that you're looking at. So those are the two ways we can, if you have any questions, please reach out to Mr. Thomas, or we can answer in the Q&A. Thank you once again, Mr. Thomas. Our next presenter is Mr. Tim Moore from Teleperformance. Good morning, Mr. Moore.
Hey, Stephen, how you doing today?
Good. Thank you for joining us, man.
No problem. I'm Tim Moore, one of the recruiters from Teleperformance.
Perfect. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what is Teleperformance?
No problem. Well, Teleperformance is an inbound call center. Basically what we do, we go above and beyond for customers, provide them with excellent customer service and resolve their issue. I've been with Teleperformance for 15 years, counting more years. Hopefully I'll be there for the next 10 more years, which would make 25 years.
Excellent. During the crisis, what are some of the best practices Teleperformance is currently using to manage your team remotely?
Okay, now when it comes to working remotely, that's new to Teleperformance at the North Lauderdale location. So one of the things that we have to do now, before we even hire an agent, we have to make sure that their agent have an internet connection. Some of the internet connections, we have to make sure that they can connect to the internet connection through an Ethernet port. They also have a quiet workplace to work. Also, have to be secured. Also, the agents will have a camera on them to make sure that they're working at that time, and also to keep the customer's information secure. And one of the primary goals of an onboarding process is to help new remote employees to exceed expectations of the new work environment.
I understand that, you know, through a prior conversation, I heard that you had some individuals working in the office and some working remotely. How have you been able to manage it, and how successful has that been?
Okay, now when it comes to the healthcare accounts have the ability of working at the facility. But when it comes to the other accounts that's not healthcare, they have to work at home. And one of the things that I'm sorry about that. I'm a little bit under the weather.
Okay.
Yes, they work at home. I'm sorry about that.
Okay. And what trends in productivity have you seen while employees are working from home?
Now, when it came work from home, it declined a lot. But now when it comes to applicants actually applying for the job, it increased.
Okay.
We got a big increase on employees applying for the job, which is great. A lot of them are dependable. Some of them started working 2 weeks ago, and right now we're still struggling to get people into Teleperformance to actually work from home. Because when it comes to the interview process is done, everything is done over the phone from the first interview to the second interview. Then the only time they have to come in is when they have to submit their forms of ID.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. So your company is still currently hiring at the moment also?
Yes. If it's for the healthcare account, you'll be working at the facility. In the other account, it'll be remote from home until the coronavirus issue is over with. Then everyone will be back at the facility.
Okay, excellent. We have a question for you. What are the requirements for working for Teleperformance?
No problem. You have to be at least 18 years or older, have a high school diploma or GED, able to pass a drug and background check, and also have open availability from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Even though the applicant is not going to be working all them hours, but they have to have that open availability because once they receive a schedule, we don't know what their schedule is going to be.
Excellent, excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Tim Moore, for joining us. If anyone has any personal questions or to inquiring about additional hiring information, you can email him. His email address is on the screen, right below his name. Thank you once again, Mr. Moore. Our next presenter is going to be Mr. Sandy Michael McDonald.
Good morning, Stephen.
Good morning, Mr. McDonald. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what the Office of Economic and Small Business Development does?
Sure. And again, good morning, Stefan. Good morning, Mason, and all the other presenters. And again, thank OIC for having us this morning and allowing us to share some of the information. I'm Sandy McDonald. I'm the director of the Office of Economic and Small Business Development. So this is your Broward County's Economic Development Office. We work with the 31 cities to assure that we retain, expand, as well as attract new businesses to Broward County. We have a public-private partner, the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance, that also aids us in doing those services. And we also do the same relevant to international markets. What our office is really known for is the small business program. Broward County procures, we buy over $1 billion in goods, materials, and services every year. And the county wants to make sure that at least 25% of what the county buys, we buy from certified small businesses. So we have a certification program to help small businesses in Broward become a part of our program, and then it helps them to compete for county contracts. That's what we do.
Excellent. During the crisis, what are some of the financial resources currently available to small and mid-sized businesses?
Yeah, so there's a lot that's out there. And again, I would encourage everyone, if you have the chance, to certainly go to our website, broward.org/econdev. That's short for economic development, broward.org/econdev. Then click on COVID-19 resources. You'll see what we have in terms of the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, the original bridge program that we currently do as a county each year or as a state coming out of hurricane season. You'll see all the resources that we are aware of that's currently available to small businesses. And I did hear you say, Stefan, small to medium-sized businesses. Right now, even with Congress, the support is small business by SBA standards. And SBA standards are small businesses that are 1 employee to 500 employees. So as you can imagine, that's a real wide range of business opportunities. But the idea is that you have a PPP program, and we're here on Thursday. So the second round of funding for PPP started this past Monday at 10:30. So no one knows if that money is going to still be here tomorrow or early next week. We do know that the first round of that funding went extremely fast. And unfortunately, we all may have heard or read some of the news story where some of the larger businesses or businesses you wouldn't expect to be eligible as small got some of that money, and some, as you read, turned it back in. But the reality is Congress is trying to work to make sure the smallest of the small gets this money. So PPP is still is still live as of the day this morning, is still being funded. So you want to go check out that website. And even on my website, I have a list of some local lenders who work with the smallest of small businesses. I got a couple of business organizations who will also offer technical assistance to people who need help in understanding it more thoroughly. The second program that Congress has available right now is the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Now, the upside to that one is that for the second round, it hadn't been funded yet. I checked before we came on air, so they anticipated the second round of funding for the EIDL to be available today, tomorrow, no later than Monday. So you still want to go to sba.gov. You still want to read the portal on EIDL. Nope, you cannot submit an application right now because the second round of funding hasn't been granted. But you can begin to find out what it takes to submit that application and if you're eligible once it's been granted. And for PPP and EIDL, I'm encouraging all businesses, if you miss round 1 and if you don't make round 2, I'm not making any promises, but I'm comfortable in believing that there will be a round 3. So you still need to check out PPP, you need to check out EIDL, you need to check out all of the SBA 7A programs that may be available from a loan side, so that in case there's another round of this CARES Act funding, you will already be in a position to submit your application. You don't want the funding to run out without you. And to be real specific, for the CARES Act on this second round, even Congress understood they didn't do enough to get the money to the smallest of the small. So this time around, they even carved out $60 billion to make sure that it was going to be available to the small banks, to the credit unions, and to what we call the CDFIs, the Community Development Financial Institutions. Those names and contacts are on my website. So you can see some of those groups who are going to have access to those funds who can help you through. Again, not against the big banks, but this is about fees. This is about banking relationships, and most small businesses don't have long-term established banking relationships. So even Congress understood that. So on the second round, they put additional funds. Lastly, I want you all to pay attention to SBA.gov because for our area, they still do webinars. Actually, Stefan, I sent you and Newton the list of the webinars for today and tomorrow, that in case your listeners want to go on and see those times. You want to pay attention to those webinars because it's twofold. You definitely get good information on PPP and EIDL, but there's also a real opportunity, a genuine opportunity to chat and ask questions as well as hear questions that other businesses are asking. Again, at this stage, it's about preparing yourself for EIDL, which may be funded later today or tomorrow, or at this stage, it's about knowing enough about PPP that if you miss this round of funding, if there's a third round, you want to be 1 hour within being able to push send. You know that you need these funds. Congress knows that you need these funds. Banks know that you need these funds. We need to put you in a position to get these funds.
Excellent. Excellent, Mr. McDonald. Someone wanted to ask, these are some wonderful funding resources made available to business. Thanks for sharing. However, is there a department for business that can call if they have any questions about applying for funds?
So definitely go to my website. See, and that is the problem. This is about technical assistance. It's not that the money's not available. Most small businesses really don't know how to navigate this process because some have never requested loans or assistance from federal programs. And also, I want to be real clear. It's not about the ignorance of the business owner. It really isn't. Banks had to understand, new banks coming on, this brand new program that was just created. Yep, we added money to EIDL, but those also was new rules that even the lenders had to learn. So we don't want any business to be embarrassed, but at least on my website, I listed a few organizations who are committed to helping navigate folks through the process. They know folks need hand holding. There's not a lot of people holding hands, but at least I have a national organization on there willing to do so. I have a local bank on there willing to do so. I have another community lender willing to do so. So these are folks that we talk to, not just email. These are folks we talk to who said, yes, Sandy, put our name on your website. We'll provide technical assistance. So these are at least a few, but I will say we've pulled down each of the applications. If you have your documents, if you know your business, if you can do your accounting or you got your CPA, you could really fill these applications out. I don't want to act like they're crazy hard. They're not, but they do require that you have the backup documentations that you will have to submit at the time you're looking to get the loan or the loan that can turn into a grant.
Excellent. If anyone has any additional questions, please answer them in the Q&A. All right. Also, if anyone has any personal questions, you can email Mr. McDonald. His email address is on the screen. Please don't hesitate to send him an email if you have any questions in regards to your business. All right. I want to thank you, Mr. McDonald, for joining us today. It was very informative, and we thank you for sharing that information with us. And we'll definitely send people to the website for sure.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, and everyone, please stay safe.
Next up, we'll have Mr. Sherrod Walker and Mr. Anthony Robinson close us out with any updates from OIC of South Florida.
Good morning, everyone. Once again, we would like to thank you from OIC of South Florida to taking your time out this morning to spend with us. Also thanking our panelists for taking the time out of their busy schedules to come on this morning. And like our CEO said at the beginning of this meeting, is that we want to be your training and human resources needs. We want to be able to train you and guide your staff, as well as to provide any additional services for your workforce and for your human resources department. So my colleague and I, Anthony, will be here, and you can contact us at our emails as shown on the screen. And Anthony, do you have anything else? Hello? Anthony, you there?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
All right. Good morning, everyone. And I want to say thank you also to everyone for participating in the webinar today also. The information provided today was real insightful and helpful to helping our businesses grow. One of the thoughts I want to leave with you today is workforce development is economic development. And small to mid-sized businesses are the fabric of what makes our economy grow. So therefore, I thank each and every one of you all for the work that you do, because you are the ones that keeps us employed and keep the economy flowing. We also would like to invite each of you all to be a part of our industry advisory board. At a later date in the near future, Mr. Stefan Liu will be reaching out to each of you, provide you more information about our industry advisory board and how you can be an assistance to us and continue to provide the services that we provide to individuals so they can be successful in the workforce. Again, we say thank you, and we look forward to talking with each and every one of you in the near future on how we can continue to grow our economy and grow the workforce here in South Florida. Thank you.